Sir Robert Walpole, the first Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and the longest serving as it happens, he did over 21 years, which I was hoping for from Boris. But leaving that to one side, Sir Robert Walpole famously said, "I do not dislike the French from the vulgar antipathy between neighbouring nations, but for their insolent and unfounded air of superiority." And that seems to me to be the quotation of the day, if not the week, if not of the month, because what has just happened is so extraordinary. Migrant boats in the Channel, in French waters, were escorted from French waters, where they were the responsibility of President Macron, into UK waters, where we picked them up and where no doubt they will now be claiming asylum, and a British ferry had to be diverted to make way for the French. Now, we are paying £500 million to the French to help them police the border and stop migrants leaving and trying to get to this country illegally. What value for money are we getting? They seem to be taking our cash but delivering migrants rather than delivering the goods. And there is a real problem because actually it's quite fun to mob up the French, isn't it, to talk about Crécy and Agincourt and Trafalgar and Waterloo and the various intervening wars, and talk about General Wolfe and his great successes, the heights of Quebec. But actually, we need to get on with our closest ally, our closest neighbour, with a neighbour of fundamental importance to us, a big economy, a country with which we've had a relationship going back since the Dark Ages, since it was a country, really, and we, of course, became a country earlier than they did. But Macron seems not to be delivering the goods. He seems to have a policy that is deliberately unhelpful to the British because the French Navy reports directly to the President. He is the head of their armed forces, he's their head of state, he is the real power within the land. France may not have a monarchy, but it has very much the direction of its state that Louis XIV would have been familiar with, a power centred in one man. And this one man not only doesn't deliver on the small votes, but also he's sucking up to China and saying that Europe should try and detach itself from the United States. Well, you will remember from yesterday that I think we shouldn't be too sentimental about the special relationship, but we have to recognise that the US is on our side in favour of freedom, of the rule of law, and China is not. China is a much bigger threat to us than the United States will ever be. And if the free world doesn't coalesce, if it doesn't work together through NATO and recognise where its interest lies, that is fundamentally risky for all of this. Who would be helping the Ukrainians if it were just left to the EU? Well, nobody. Very little would ever have happened. It required the sheer power, the depth, the resources of the US. And this is where what Macron's been saying has been so dangerous, because he was saying that we should not take America's view on Taiwan, and this gives the impression that we don't care about the fundamentals of the rule of law. Taiwan is an interest of the United Kingdom, it is an interest of the United States, it is an interest of the free world, and China's bullying of Taiwan is something that we as a free country should always be opposed to. And when our closest and most important neighbour is sucking up to the communist Chinese, we know something is wrong, and we see it with the failure of the French to help us with the small boats, actually delivering small boats to us. It is a real and serious problem. And of course I want to know what you think at home. Please get in touch. Email me, mailmog@gbnews.uk.